Hello, it's good to see you. My name is Beth, and I discovered Flosstube this week. Well, maybe a little longer than a week. I didn't have any idea it existed, even though I've been watching YouTube videos for embroidery techniques and playing video games and just looking for interesting information. Somehow I missed that this was this phenomena of people sharing their stitching. I used to blog because I wanted to share my stitching, and well, then life happened. I don't remember when I learned how to cross stitch. I did a lot of cross stitching from about 98 to 2007. And then I did less. And then I picked up stitching and other kinds of textile art again during COVID, of course, like many others. This is from my previous prolific period. It's a nice Halloween design from Hillside Samplings. I wasn't able to find the title, but for some reason I actually wrote the designer on the back, which is kind of impressive. It's one of the first pieces that I really tried to make variegated thread do what I told it to, at least with the big pumpkin. So that shading where it's a little darker in the center and lighter on the top and bottom was on purpose. What I'm currently working on includes a design by somebody else, which for a while I had this really hard time with the idea that I could be spending my time creating an original artwork, or I could be spending my time cross-stitching something somebody else designed. I used to love it, but then it got harder. Even though I never took off as an artist or tried to, it just was difficult. But last month at an EGA meeting, one of the other members mentioned Stitchonomy stitch-alongs. She brought the summer one. And I'm like, stitch-along? What's a stitch-along? And I found out. And I signed up for the Halloween one. This is my progress so far. It's less pumpkins and harvest and stuff than I was expecting based on the previous years. More occult. But it's interesting. I really like the little stories every day that come with the patterns, and I'm enjoying having that kind of bite-sized piece of stitching that I'm not sure what it's going to do. The fabric is from Silk Weaver. I don't know if they're still dyeing, because it's from my stash from 20 years ago. Now, what I'm working on that isn't from a pattern is this piece. It'll be part of my pieces that are inspired by the idea of a Persian rug, more specifically, a flying carpet. And this one, I really like how these diagonal lines are shaping the space. I want to use a lot of that in this piece. And that would be my cat, who I should, if you can hear that, who, if I exclude from the room or include in the room, has about an equal risk of going when I'm doing anything. This is also from that general inspiration group, but I decided to try to get more pictorial. It's ocean creatures. That central piece right there that's blank, it will have a nice big jellyfish in it at some point. And I worked on kind of charting out before I did them and kind of just winging it. The different creatures that you see here and the coral, I need to figure out how to connect the coral to the ground and so forth. This is also a fabric by Stitch Weaver. Silk Weaver. During the time when I wasn't doing a lot of cross stitch, I did, among other things, I did collage. When I was doing a lot of cross stitch, I was also going to EGA meetings and learning all sorts of different kind of counted embroidery techniques. I picked up some art quilting. Most of what I got back into during COVID was more along the art quilting line. Currently, I decided to try something bigger. My first piece I didn't like. I'm not showing it to you. But this one is the one I have in progress right now. And we've got some more autumn going on. The fabric, it's 16-inch by 20-inch. The fabric was all added by hand in the style of a Siddi, Siddi, Kawandi. Not completely, it's just more inspired by that method of fabric assembly. And there's some really good videos about that technique online. So those are my current projects. I've noticed that a lot of Flosstube has like stitch numbers and how many stitches. And I'm really not sure how anybody's doing that. I think computer software was mentioned. Even when all I did was cross stitch, I didn't keep track of anything like that. It's kind of cool, but and that's not something I'm going to have. What I would like to have is I'd like to share some of the books I've accumulated over the years. Some of them are more or less about cross stitch or other kinds of fiber art, but I enjoy them. This one is Embroidery Motifs from Dutch Samplers by Alberta, and I am not even going to try to pronounce that. I like these. I especially like the trees here that are kind of those diamonds on top of horizontal bars, and some of them have little birds. I like the intricacy of the designs. I also like the alphabets, not necessarily the two huge letters here, and those up there are okay, but I particularly like the ones that are the third row down with all the curly cues. Those are fun. I'd like to make a sampler for myself that somehow includes some of these elements. Now, this book has a lot of charted designs in it. It has some history, but it's mostly charted designs that you can then assemble. But they're kind of big because both of those that I showed you the photos of are from like Long Dog sampler size. So, I mean, I could buy one of the Long Dog sampler patterns, but I kind of want to design it myself in some way, shape, or form, but I'm not quite sure how. Where I want to go with it. So I'll need to think about that some more. That's what I've been working on, and somehow other people talk for a lot longer than I have, but I think this is a good start. So I'm hoping I find this fun, and I'm hoping that if you found it, you find it interesting, and that I'm doing this months from now and have also learned about production quality and fun things like that I've decided to ignore in favor of actually filming something. Good stitching. Goodbye.